What led to the heinous murder of court reporter Nancy Marie Benalik in her Sacramento apartment in 1970? Who could have committed such a cruel and senseless act against an innocent and promising young woman? In this video, we'll delve into the most disturbing case of Nancy Marie case and how it was finally solved after half a century with a surprising twist that nobody could have predicted. Let's get going. After 52 years, Sacramento County's oldest cold case has been solved with the identification of a suspected killer in the murder of court reporter Nancy Marie Benalik. Her lifeless, bloodied body was discovered by her son and apartment manager after she failed to show up for work the next day. The heinous crime took place in Sacramento, California, in her apartment in the dead of the night on October 25, 1970. The question remains as to what led to such a cruel and senseless act against an innocent and promising young woman. Sacramento, California is a city that blends culture and business at the convergence of two rivers. Despite the state's hot climate, Sacramento is full of greenery and is considered one of the best places to live in the US. Unfortunately, the city was not safe for Nancy Benalik on the night of October 25, 1970, when tragedy struck in her family. Nancy, a court reporter, was living with her cat in a second-story apartment and was engaged to be married the following month. Her family was devastated by her sudden loss, and her memory lives on to this day. Nancy Benalik and Farah Salami were inseparable, spending most of their time together. One October evening, they enjoyed dinner before retiring to Nancy's apartment. After chatting for a while, Salami departed around 11:30 p.m., leaving the sliding glass door slightly open for Nancy's cat. Little did he know it would be the last time he saw his fiancée. Nancy Marie Benalik vanished, and no one ever saw her again. The thought never crossed Salami's mind that their goodbye was permanent. Concerned coworkers became alarmed when Nancy failed to arrive for work on October 26, 1970, as she never missed work without prior notice. Joella Moncrief, her coworker and friend, contacted Nancy's son Jack, who visited her apartment to check on her. Repeated knocks at the door went unanswered, causing Jack to panic and seek help from the building manager. Despite initial reluctance, the manager eventually agreed to open the apartment with a passkey. Upon entry, they found a horrifying scene that would stay with them forever. As Jack and the apartment manager entered Nancy Benalik's second-story Bell Street apartment, they were met with a gruesome sight. The bedroom was the site of a brutal crime where Nancy lay dead in her bed, surrounded by a pool of blood. The victim had suffered multiple stab wounds all over her body, including defensive wounds on her arms. The assault was so vicious that Nancy's head was almost decapitated. The scene was a harrowing sight that left a lasting impact on all who witnessed it. The authorities were alerted and arrived to the crime scene to find blood everywhere, but no fingerprints were found. The murderer had likely worn tape on their fingers to avoid leaving any evidence. A blood trail was found from the second-story balcony to the sidewalk, and then two other apartment buildings before ending in a parking lot. It was believed that the murderer escaped in a vehicle and had sustained knife wounds. The victim, Nancy, had over 30 stab wounds and was killed between the 25th and 26th of October in 1970. Despite interviewing over 500 people, no suspects were ever identified, and the motive remained unclear. The suspect in Nancy's murder was thought to be a nimble individual who climbed to her balcony on the second story before entering her room through a partially open door. Nancy showed signs of a struggle, with many defensive wounds on her arms and hands. It's possible that the killer was injured during the attack, which led to a blood trail being left behind. Due to limited technology in the 1970s, investigators were only able to determine the suspect's blood type. However, with no credible evidence or leads, the case went unsolved. Although some actions were taken over the years, it took decades for families and friends to finally receive justice for Nancy's murder. During the investigation, detectives discovered that another woman named Judith Akari was also killed in the same area earlier that year. Many similarities were found between the two cases, including their age, proximity to each other, and upcoming marriages. It was suspected that the notorious Zodiac killer was responsible for both murders, but no concrete evidence were ever found. Unfortunately, Judith Akari's case remains unsolved to this day. Despite developing a DNA profile from blood collected at a crime scene in 2004 and then uploading it to state and national CODIS databases, no matches were ever found, leaving the case cold. However, in November 2019, detectives and investigators launched a forensic genetic genealogy investigation using technology they use to identify the Golden State Killer. They uploaded the DNA profile to an open-source genealogy website and were eventually able to locate people who could be related to the suspect, leading to a breakthrough in the case. After a long wait, the identity of the murderer of Nancy Marie Benalik was finally revealed on July 21, 2022, as Richard John Davis. The case had been ongoing for 50 years, during which time science continued to evolve. The murderer was 27 years old at the time of the crime and lived in the same apartment complex as Nancy. They lived on opposite sides of a pool, with Nancy in apartment 17 and Davis in apartment 23. During a press conference, retired detective Mickey Lynx stated that Davis had planned this murder, and he'd even taken steps to conceal his fingerprints by using masking tape on his fingers. Detectives speculated that Davis may have had a crush on Nancy and murdered her after her learning of her marriage. Schubert was informed that Davis and his roommate had been among the 500 people interviewed by the sheriff's office in the first month following the murder. However, they had strong alibis for each other. Davis had only been previously charged with one driving under the influence, which may have explained why there was no DNA match in the CODIS database during the initial stages of the investigation. Despite the setback, the oldest cold case in Sacramento County was eventually solved in 2022. 52 years after the crime. Although Nancy's family had lost hope of ever finding the perpetrator, her memory remained alive. Even after her then-fiancé Ferris Salami passed away from leukemia in 2014, her case continued to be a top priority for law enforcement. Linda and Tom Cox, Nandy's sister and brother-in-law, attended the press conference where the breakthrough in the case was announced. Unfortunately, the perpetrator, Richard Davis, died in 1997 from an illness resulting from alcoholism. Although justice could not be served in a legal sense, Mickey Lynx expressed hope that the family could find peace in the knowledge that the case had finally been solved. Linda Cox provided a signed statement expressing her recollection of her sister. She reflects on the many years that have passed since Nancy went missing and thanks Mickey Lynx for his efforts in helping to bring closure. Linda and her husband Tom often reminisce about how much Nancy would have enjoyed their ranch, which boasts vast open spaces and an array of animals. They regret not being able to share their experiences with her, and they miss her presence dearly. The case of Nancy Marie Benalik's murder is finally closed after 52 years, bringing closure to her family and justice for Nancy. The dedication of the investigators and the advancement of technology played a significant role in finally identifying the culprit. This case also highlights the importance of never giving up on justice and the need to constantly pursue it, no matter how long it takes. As we look back on the case, we can't help but think of all the other cold cases that still remain unsolved. We hope that this resolution will inspire others to keep fighting for justice and not to give up hope. And that's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it informative. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below for more content like this. See you in the next one.